The Chicago Bears season just took a massive hit, and it's one that could shake the core of their defense moving forward. Jaylen Johnson, their top cornerback, is likely out for the rest of the year with a groin injury. And while nothing's officially confirmed yet, all signs point to a long-term absence. Johnson himself admitted on 670 The Score that the team is exploring options and that he's bracing for a significant stretch on the sidelines. At best, he might return late in the season if Chicago finds itself in playoff contention. At worst, we've already seen the last of him this year. This is brutal news for a defense that was already struggling to find its identity. According to reports, this isn't a recurrence of his previous groin and calf issue. It's a new injury, but in a similar spot. Johnson described it as a different place in the same area, suggesting that the entire region now needs full repair. That's surgery talk. And when you mix in phrases like long shot to return, it's hard to be optimistic. The timing couldn't be worse, especially with the Bears set to face the Dallas Cowboys in Week 3. Internally, the team will look to Tariq Stevenson and Terrell Smith to hold things down on the outside. But let's be honest, neither one has looked like a confident solution through the first 2 weeks. Stevenson, in particular, has been a disappointment. He was a second-round pick, and although he has the physical tools to thrive in this scheme, the production hasn't matched the potential. He's been beaten far too often, and while matchups like Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown aren't easy for any corner, Stevenson's been on the wrong side of too many highlight reels. This scheme is supposed to be a better fit for him. It's time he proves it. Smith has been inconsistent, too. He had a pick-6 in Week 1, which offered a flash of promise, but that was followed by a lackluster performance in Week 2. Then you've got guys like Josh Blackwell and Jaylen Johnson, solid special teamers, but not names you want to lean on as starting outside corners. Nick Morrow has some versatility, but is primarily a nickel guy. The depth simply isn't there. And when your top corner goes down, that's the kind of void you can't fill with next-man-up mentality unless someone makes a major leap. That's why attention has quickly shifted to external reinforcements, free agents, trade targets, anyone who can hold up on the outside and prevent this defense from completely falling apart. A few names have already surfaced, and while none are perfect, there are a couple of intriguing options out there. Stephon Gilmore, for one, has been brought up. Now, yes, he's 35 and clearly past his prime, but there's still something in the tank. Last season, while playing with the Vikings, he had 9 pass breakups and held his own down the stretch. He's not a shutdown corner anymore, but he's a veteran who understands how to survive in today's NFL. He knows the division and could provide leadership to a young and shaky secondary. The question is, would he even want to sign with a team like Chicago at this stage of his career? Then there's Kendall Fuller. He's not as old as Gilmore, but he's in a similar tier, reliable, smart, and experienced, though his best days are likely behind him. Still, over the past 4 seasons, he's managed 42 pass breakups. That's not nothing. He was surprisingly released by Miami, and it's genuinely a shock that he hasn't been picked up yet. Maybe it's age. Maybe it's injury history. But if Chicago's looking for a steady CB2 with experience, Fuller should at least get a phone call. There's also the Asani Samuel Jr. situation. On paper, that name carries weight, a young corner with playmaking pedigree. But the reality isn't nearly as promising. Samuel has only played in 4 games last year due to serious neck and shoulder injuries. He underwent a spinal fusion procedure in April and is scheduled for a CT scan in October to determine if he's medically cleared to return. Best case scenario? He's available after Chicago's Week 6 bye, which realistically means he wouldn't contribute until Week 7 or later. And that's assuming everything goes perfectly. If you're trying to patch holes in your secondary right now, Asani isn't the guy. Not yet. Another name that surfaced is James Bradberry. Now, this one's a bit more complicated. Bradberry didn't play at all last season. He had a foot issue that was later labeled as an Achilles injury, though it wasn't a full tear. He also struggled in 2023 to the point that Philly had started experimenting with him at safety before letting him go. Once considered a top-tier corner, Bradberry now projects more as a nickel than an outside option. Given Chicago's needs, that probably doesn't solve much. How about Emmanuel Mosley? He's played for Detroit and has flashed real CB2 ability when healthy. That's the key phrase, though. When healthy, he's played in only 8 games over the past 3 seasons. That's not a typo. Injuries have derailed his career, and while his upside is clear, it's hard to justify bringing in another player who can't stay on the field when you just lost your best corner to a season-threatening injury. If the Bears are desperate, maybe he's worth a look on a veteran minimum deal, but he's far from a solution. So, if you're the Bears front office, you're in a bind. Your young corners aren't developing fast enough, your veteran depth is shallow, and the free agent market is filled with question marks. That leads us to trade possibilities. A few names have been floated internally and by league insiders. Not all of them make sense, but there are a couple that could be worth exploring. One name to keep an eye on is Deonte Banks. A first-round pick in 2023, Banks came into the league with high expectations but hasn't lived up to the hype. He's been burned consistently and has struggled to find his footing despite having a decent rookie campaign with 2 interceptions. If the Bears believe they can fix him, maybe it's worth a flyer. You're probably looking at a 5th or a 6th-round pick. Maybe one of those swap deals where the Bears trade a 5th and get Banks plus a 7th in return. Low risk, medium reward, but definitely not a game-changer right now. Another intriguing option is Khalil Ringo. Coming out of Georgia, Ringo had all the tools but slipped in the draft, possibly due to a strange pre-draft process. He had a shot at winning a starting role with the Eagles during camp, but failed to lock it down. His preseason was rough, and he's currently a backup. Again, maybe there's something there, but at this point, he's likely not better than what Chicago already has. You're not upgrading the room by bringing in a player who's just as raw and unproven. But then there's Greg Newsome, and this one's interesting. He's played a ton of snaps for the Cleveland Browns, has experience in multiple schemes, and is still relatively young. Newsome is in a contract year, and with the Browns off to a rocky start, they could look to move him rather than lose him for nothing. If the price is right, say a 5th-round pick, this could be the most realistic and impactful move for Chicago. Newsome isn't elite, but he's solid and dependable. He could step in and start immediately, and depending on how things go, the Bears could even consider extending him after the season. It's all going to come down to how aggressive the Bears want to be. Do they believe they can turn things around this year? Do they think this defense still has enough to keep them in hunt? Or are they ready to ride it out, let the young guys develop, and figure it out later? Because let's be real, if you're just looking to survive the next few weeks, there are stopgap solutions out there. Guys like Gilmore and Fuller could help stabilize things. But if the front office still has long-term goals in mind, a move like Newsome makes the most sense. He's young, he's proven, and he fills a position of immediate need. Whatever the choice, something has to be done. Standing pat with what they've got might be the easiest option, but it's also the riskiest. The NFC North is too competitive, and the Bears can't afford to let this season slip away because they failed to replace Jaylen Johnson when they had the chance. With the Johnson injury lingering over everything, the Bears now enter a critical stretch where the front office and coaching staff will need to show urgency, and maybe even creativity, to hold this team together. There's no sugarcoating it. The secondary has become a glaring vulnerability, and opponents know it. With the Cowboys up next, followed by tough matchups in the coming weeks, this unit will be tested and exposed unless something changes fast. The pressure isn't just on the players, it's squarely on the coaching staff as well. Defensive coordinator Alan Williams and head coach Matt Eberflus have to get more out of what they already have. That starts with Tariq Stevenson. He's not a rookie anymore. He's had time to grow, he's been given chances, and now it's about consistency and accountability. The same goes for Terrell Smith. These guys were drafted to become starters, and when injuries hit, that's when they need to rise. The excuses are running out. Either they step up, or this secondary is going to continue to be a liability. That's the brutal truth. But depending solely on internal development is a gamble, one that could backfire quickly. This is why the Bears front office, led by Ryan Poles, must at least explore trade seriously. There's still time before the trade deadline, but waiting too long can shrink the market. And unlike past years, there are a few corners around the league who could realistically be moved for the right price. Greg Newsome continues to be the most interesting target. He fits the age profile Chicago is building around, and he wouldn't just be a short-term rental. If the Bears pulled the trigger, they'd have the option to keep him beyond this season, something that makes the cost of a mid-round pick easier to swallow. In a scenario where Johnson returns next year fully healthy, Newsome could slide in opposite him, and suddenly, the Bears have a formidable 1-2 punch at corner. That's how you build long-term stability on defense. But again, it's not just about adding talent. It's about doing it before it's too late. Now, if the Bears decide not to trade and choose to wait it out, they'll need to get more creative with their current personnel. That might mean shifting guys around, disguising coverages more aggressively, or even playing more zone to protect the corners. But when you start adjusting the entire scheme to hide one weakness, you're giving up something elsewhere. You don't beat top-tier offenses like that. You just try to contain the bleeding. And with Dallas coming to town, containment isn't going to cut it. Dak Prescott is going to look to exploit this group. He's coming off a strong week, and the Cowboys' offense has weapons everywhere. With Jaylen Johnson out, CeeDee Lamb is going to be a nightmare assignment. If Stevenson or Smith doesn't show improvement fast, Prescott could pick this secondary apart. There's also the issue of stopping the run. And if the Bears have to drop their safeties back to help protect the corners, it opens up more gaps for Tony Pollard to attack. It's a domino effect, and it all starts with not having a lockdown guy on the outside. Beyond just the scheme and personnel, this is also a test of the Bears' mentality. Every team goes through adversity. Losing a top player can either destroy morale or light a fire. This is where leadership matters. Veterans like Tremaine Edmonds and Jaquan Brisker have to take ownership of the defense. Guys like Montez Sweat need to elevate their play and apply pressure so quarterbacks don't have time to expose the secondary. The entire unit has to rise together, or else it's going to get ugly. And we haven't even talked about the potential psychological impact of another rough loss. If the Cowboys come into Soldier Field and put up big numbers through the air, that could shake the confidence of young corners like Stevenson and Smith even more. At that point, it becomes harder and harder to recover. Football is physical, but confidence is everything. Once a player starts to doubt his ability, it shows in his footwork, his reaction time, and his decision-making. You can't let it get to that point. The Bears have to be proactive. This is why a move for a cornerback can't be viewed as optional. It's a necessity. Whether it's Greg Newsome or a lower-profile guy who can offer immediate competence, the Bears have to act. This defense, especially the back end, can't tread water for 10 more weeks. And while it's true that reinforcements might come later in the year, maybe Jaylen Johnson does make a miraculous recovery. You can't base your season on maybes. You have to build with what's in front of you, and right now, that's a secondary in need of help. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are stirring around Soldier Field after a fiery exchange reportedly involving Chicago Bears head coach Matt Eberflus and one of his star players. According to insiders, the relationship between the two has reportedly reached a breaking point, with Eberflus allegedly declaring, in no uncertain terms, that the player won't play for me anymore. While details remain murky and the team has yet to issue an official statement, sources suggest that tensions have been simmering behind the scenes for weeks. The Bears, who have faced a roller coaster season, are no strangers to locker room drama, but this development could signal something more serious. Analysts are speculating on what could have triggered the coach's dramatic remark. Some suggest it may stem from disagreements over playing time, strategy, or even off-field behavior, though none of this has been confirmed. The identity of the player involved remains a closely guarded secret, fueling even more speculation and chatter among fans and media alike. If the reports hold any weight, the implications for the Bears could be significant. A fractured relationship between a coach and a key player often reverberates throughout a team, potentially affecting morale, performance, and even future roster decisions. Fans have taken to social media to voice their opinions, with debates raging over whether Eberflus was justified in his stance or if the player might seek opportunities elsewhere. The rumor mill is now in overdrive, with insiders hinting at possible trades, suspensions, or even a public showdown in the coming weeks. Despite the swirling gossip, one thing is clear. The Bears organization will need to navigate these turbulent waters carefully. With the season still in progress, handling internal conflicts discreetly could mean the difference between a strong finish and a disappointing collapse. For now, the city of Chicago watches and waits, eager for clarity but fully immersed in the growing drama surrounding Matt Eberflus and his apparent fallout with a key member of the squad. Whatever the outcome, this saga promises to be one of the most talked-about storylines in the league this year. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.